Hello everyone and welcome back to Beatley Tone's Beatles channel. Lovely to have you here. Thanks for joining me for this video and I hope all you lovely Beatle heads are doing well out there. Now today is Thursday the 24th of November. I know it's Thanksgiving's Day in the US, so I wish all my American friends, viewers, subscribers a very happy Thanksgiving Day and I hope you're having a great holiday. Now we don't have that here in the UK, but I know it's traditional over there for you to all declare what you're thankful for with great gusto. So I'm gonna say thank you very much to everyone who subscribes to this channel and continues to support this channel. It wouldn't be a channel without you, so thank you very much. And I also want to give a big warm welcome to all the new subscribers because there's been quite a lot of you, so thank you all very much. Now today's video is going to be a speculative video. We're getting towards the end of 2022 and I'm going to look at what we might get in 2023 in terms of products from the Beatles and from the 4 solo Beatles. Now, I'm not just going to take wild guesses at this. I'm going to base this speculation on anniversaries and the kind of things that we've got before. Now, 2022 has been a little bit sparse as far as Beatles stuff for us fans to get a grip onto. If we go back to 2021, and it was just absolutely Beatles bonkers. Just go through all the things that we got in 2021. We got all the different coloured versions of McCartney 3 that trickled out through the years. We've got the McCartney lyrics book. We got the John Lennon Imagine 50th anniversary version on white vinyl. We got the John Lennon Plastic Ono Band Ultimate Mixes box set, absolutely fantastic. We got the All Things Must Pass remix box set, again absolutely fantastic. And we got the Let It Be box set, again absolutely fantastic. We got a couple of EPs from Ringo. We got the Ram 50th anniversary half speed master. We got the Get Back film on Disney Plus and the Get Back book. Just absolutely mad year for Beatles fans, and we all suffered open wallet surgery. 2022, not so much. What have we had? We've had the Revolver box set, which of course was absolutely fantastic but very expensive. We got the Wings Wildlife Half Speed Master. We got the McCartney 1, 2, 3 box. We got Ringo's EP3. We got the Get Back Blu-ray and DVD. And I think that's pretty much it. Now, there's still a couple of things to come in 2022. The McCartney 7-inch box set, the 87-inch singles set, which I'm really excited about getting. And you will see the whole thing here on this channel. So if you want to see that, you haven't subscribed yet, please consider subscribing to the channel. You'll see it all here. Now, one other thing that I wanted to talk about that is coming about mid-December is the book, The McCartney Legacy. Now, I'm not sure how many people know about this book. I did do a video on it when it was first announced back in February, and I pre-ordered it. Now, this is a book that is written by Alan Kozin and Adrian Sinclair. And if you're thinking about style of book, think Mark Lewison sort of style of writing in terms of detail and accuracy. Now, obviously, I haven't read the book for myself yet, but my good friends Tom Hunyadi and Andy Nichols over at the Two Legs podcast have read it. They say it's magnificent, and I trust their judgment. So let me tell you a little bit about the book. Now, it's 750 pages long, and it's entirely dedicated to Paul's solo career from 1969 to 1973, so just 4 years in 750 pages. So that gives you an idea of the kind of detail that we're getting here. Now, you know how it normally goes with Beatles books. If a book is sort of that thick, you get probably about that much. It covers the Beatles story, and about that much covers 50 years of 4 solo careers, which is just not good enough. So it's great that we're getting a really good detailed book about Paul McCartney's early solo career. So if that's the kind of thing that floats your boat, I'd really encourage you to go out and get this book, because obviously by supporting Alan and Adrian as authors, that will encourage them to be able to write the next instalment, which I'm sure that we will want after reading this book. So it's the McCartney Legacy. It's about 25 quid from Amazon. Pre-order it now. It comes mid-December. Okay, let's talk about what's going to happen in 2023. So what will we get from the Beatles next year? Now, you don't have to be some sort of super psychic to expect there to be a Beatles box set next year featuring a stereo remix by Giles Martin and Sam O'Kell of one of the albums. But which album will it be? The smart money will, of course, be on Rubber Soul. But there's another train of thought, because 2023 is the 60th anniversary of Please Please Me, and it's also the 60th anniversary of With the Beatles. Now, Giles Martin being in possession of Peter Jackson's software, he must have had a little tinkle with the two, not a little tinkle, he would have had a little tinkle, but that's not what I meant. He would have had a little tinker, surely, with seeing what that software could do with a 2-track recording. His curiosity must have led him to have already sort of started to look at what he could do with the 2-track recordings and how he could separate those. So is there a chance that they could go down the 60th anniversary route? Now, something caught my eye this month in this month's Mojo. Lovely picture of Debbie Harry on the front, but that's not what caught my eye. Well, it did catch my eye, but that's not what I'm going to talk about. Mojo awarded Revolver their reissue of the year award, and it was up against stiff competition from David Bowie, Rolling Stones, Neil Young, The Clash, Blondie, Lou Reed. So no surprise to us that it won, but it's great that it did. But in this article, there is an interview with Giles Martin. And now in this interview, Giles Martin says that when they started the Revolver project, they were considering combining Revolver and Rubber Soul together in the same box set, because they weren't sure there was enough good quality outtakes, sessions, demos for each of those albums for them to warrant having an individual box set. As it turned out, there was enough for Revolver. But if we go back to thinking about Please Please Me and With the Beatles, a good way of sort of measuring how much good quality session material is out there is to go back to Anthology 1 and look at what outtakes and sessions etc we got for that album, and there's virtually nothing, which stands to reason because they didn't spend that much time in the studio recording those albums, so it makes sense that there's not that much session material. So for me, it would make absolutely perfect sense to combine a box set with both these albums with whatever sessions there is, but more importantly, a good stereo remix of the album. And if that was to happen, if they were to go down that 60th anniversary route, I would expect it to be sort of the back end of the year, so more in line with the Beatles anniversary rather than the Please Please Me one. I mean, I think that Rubber Soul will get the nod, but just keep an eye and a thought about the 60th anniversary of those two albums, because it could go that way. And I'm not even done with the Beatles yet, and this one is a little bit out there, a little bit left field, but 2023 is the 50th anniversary of these two classic compilation albums, the Blue Album and the Red Album. And I know what you're thinking. You're thinking, well, what can they possibly give us for the Red and the Blue Album? They've kind of done it to death. They've released quite a few different variations of this. But what if they were to release the Red Album on red vinyl and the Blue Album on gorgeous blue vinyl. Now these ones came out in 1978, and in 1978 coloured vinyl did not sound good. It sounded terrible, but things have moved on. Technology has moved on, and now coloured vinyl sounds really, really good. In some cases, as good as black vinyl. So what if they were to give us 180 gram red and blue vinyl for these albums using the 2009 remastered tracks for the material on the album? Is that something that you would go for? I think I would welcome that release, because these albums are classics and they deserve to be commemorated by a 50th anniversary. They are the gateway to the Beatles for so many people, especially people of my age. The Blue album was the first Beatles album that I ever heard. So I would definitely welcome a 50th anniversary on red and blue vinyl. I don't need any other version, but if they was to give us good quality coloured vinyl for these two albums, I would welcome that. What about you? Tell me about it down in the comments, whether you would be up for that. So let's move on to John Lennon. And 2022 has been a completely barren year for John Lennon releases. We've had absolutely nothing whatsoever from the Lennon camp this year, and that wasn't how we were expecting it to turn out, because on the 4th of January 2022, a new website magically appeared on the internet declaring loud and clear that this album, Sometime New York City, would have an ultimate mixes box set in 2022. They weren't specific about dates, but they just said 2022. Later in the year, when nothing materialized, I noticed that there was a tweet. Someone tweeted Sean Lennon and asked when it was coming, and he just responded with 2022. Now, we were kind of expecting this to drop on the 50th anniversary of either the UK or the US release of the album, because they were actually 3 months apart, one in June and one in September. When that didn't happen, we then reverted to thinking it would be around John's birthday on the 9th of October. Now, in August this year, I did a video talking about what might be in this box set, because I thought that the box set might not follow the usual ultimate mixes format that we've had for Imagine and Plastic Ono Band, because, you know, this album is a hard sell. It's not a popular album. It didn't do very well when it was first released, and of course it has got political material on it. It's got that track using that word, which we'll call Woman is the Figure of the World. You know the one I'm talking about. It's also got songs about the IRA, and it's got songs about prison riots and all that sort of stuff. So it's a difficult sell. So I suggested that this might come out with some different material, because John and Yoko did a lot of promotion for this album. They did a few live gigs where they just sort of got up, did 2 or 3 songs. They did a lot of TV appearances as well, where they played stuff. And of course, there was the Live in New York City album, which I suggested would be a really good selling point for this box set, because I can't really see people outside of Beatles and John Lennon fans buying this if they were hoping to sell this to the general public. It's a tough sell. But if you include not Sometime in New York City, if you include the Live in New York City album, which historically is a really important album because it was John Lennon's last ever full gig, you've got a selling point. You've got a reason for people to buy it. And that album was really badly recorded and could really do with a remix. So I don't know what has happened to this album. We don't know whether it was cancelled because of they didn't want it to clash with Revolver, or because they didn't think it was going to sell, or there's also been the issue of Yoko's poor health this year as well. That could also be a reason. But I will suggest that recently I've noticed that Yoko has started tweeting again, not anything about this specific album, but she's tweeting every day over the last 2 or 3 weeks, and she hasn't done that for a long time, so hopefully her health has improved. I'd also suggest that February 2023 is her 90th birthday, and this is a John and Yoko album. It's not just a John Lennon album. So maybe we could be getting this to celebrate her 90th birthday in February. That would be where my money would be going if we're going to get it at all. But I just really hope that they don't just brush over this and don't release it because they don't think that it's going to sell a lot of copies, because you know, it is what it is. It's part of John's canon, and we want to hear it, and to hear ultimate mixes of this, you know, the usual stuff, and plus a remix could give this album a new lease of life. So I really hope that this isn't going to get brushed under the carpet. Now, also in 2023 is the 50th anniversary of this album, Mind Games. Now, Mind Games was released in October 1973, so there's a perfect tie-in with John's birthday for an Ultimate Mixes box set for Mind Games, and this one I do expect to follow the normal box sets that we got for Imagine and Plastic Ono Band, including the, you know, the raw studio mixes, the Element mixes, the Evolution mixes, and of course demos and outtakes from the sessions from the album. So hopefully that at least will come. You know, I would settle for one John Lennon box next year, but I really hope that we get both of these. I really don't want Sometime in New York City to get brushed under the carpet, as I said. So we could get 2 John Lennon box sets next year. If you want to see the video where I go into the detail about what is going to be included in Sometime in New York City, I'll stick an end card at the end of this video if you want to go and watch it. But maybe 2 John Lennon box sets next year. It could happen. So what about Paul? What might we get from Macca in 2023? Now, since Paul went back to Capitol Records, his releases have become increasingly more difficult to predict because Capitol have gone a little bit left field with it. I thought that they would go head on into the archive collection and get that done and dusted, but we haven't had anything since 2020 when we got the magnificent Flaming Pie box. But when I say they've gone a bit left field, what they have given us are things that we weren't expecting, like all the different coloured variations of McCartney 3, the McCartney 1, 2, 3 box, and the Paul McCartney 7-inch singles crates. All things that sort of came out of the blue, weren't really expecting, and what we were expecting were archive collections. Now, in the Got Back program, the tour program from the US tour of this year, they had a piece in that talking about the archive collections. At the bottom it said, watch out for new releases from the archive collection coming soon. Well, coming soon hasn't happened, and you know what I'm talking about. I'm talking about London Town, and I'm talking about Back to the Egg. And we know that the remastering has been done for these already because Paul has spoken about them in interviews. So they can't be that far away, but they haven't arrived yet. And we want them because, you know, these 2 albums are in danger of becoming old before they're new, if you know what I mean. We're a little bit like, when are we going to get London Town and Back to the Egg? And we don't want to feel like that. We want to be excited about the release. So don't, you know, get that carrot off the stick and just give us the bloody box sets. Now, I did do a video talking about what we might get in these box sets in great detail on the channel a few months ago. I'll put an end card at the end of this video if you want to watch that. So I'm not going to talk in detail about what we might get in the box set, but just very briefly, for London Town, I don't think there's very much in the way of new material. There will be outtakes, but not much of unreleased songs. For Back to the Egg, there are unreleased songs and of course outtakes, and there's plenty of other stuff as well. So primarily I'm talking about the live material from the 1979 UK tour, which is basically the gig at the Glasgow Apollo and the concert for Campuchia at the Hammersmith Odeon. Now, some of those songs have already been out on the archive edition that is appropriate to the song. For example, when he did Maybe I'm Amazed, that came out on the McCartney archive edition. So we might just get, for Back to the Egg, just all the songs that are appropriate to Back to the Egg, and for London Town, just get I've Had Enough, because that's the only song from London Town that he did on that tour. But it would be really nice to get the whole Glasgow gig and the whole concert for Campuchia gig. That would be absolutely fantastic and make that box set definitely worth having. So please, can we have the archive editions of Back to the Egg and London Town? Okay, so what I think is absolutely nailed on for 2023 is the continuation of the Half Speed Master Series. Now, what Paul has been doing, he's been putting out on the 50th anniversary of each album, he's been putting out a Half Speed Master of the album. So we've had McCartney, Ram, Wings, Wildlife so far. And on the 30th of April next year, it will be the 50th anniversary of Red Rose Speedway. So I expect a Half Speed Master will come out of that. What I like about this series, apart from the fact that the mastering sounds absolutely fantastic, is that they've stuck to the original packaging. So original label and original packaging. So I expect Red Rose Speedway to come with the book glued in, not as a sort of a loose pamphlet like it did in the archive series. That would be absolutely fantastic. But not just that, on the 30th of November or the 5th of December for the US release, we got Band on the Run. So I expect a Half Speed Master of that as well. So 2 Half Speed Masters in 2023, that would be absolutely fantastic. And I think those are pretty nailed on. They would definitely happen if he's going to continue this series. Now, what about the coloured vinyl series? Now, we've had quite a few out in the coloured vinyl series, but nothing since 2019. It would be nice if he continued with that, because they are a thing of beauty, which gives me another opportunity to show my Venus and Mars coloured vinyl. It really is a thing of beauty. And when I did my video showing all the coloured vinyl editions in this series, you all voted that that was the most popular one, that was the best looking disc. So it would be great if we got a continuation of that, you know, maybe Red Rose Speedway on red vinyl, London Town on dirty sort of brown vinyl, so it looks a bit like the River Thames, a bit of sludge maybe in the sleeve, and Back to the Egg on white vinyl with a yellow bit in the middle, so it looks like a fried egg. That would be absolutely fantastic, because you know these coloured vinyls, the colours that they choose are supposed to be appropriate to the sleeve. So dirty brown sludge for London Town and a fried egg for Back to the Egg. Okay, and what about this? This may be a little bit off the scale, but could we get a live album of Paul's Glastonbury gig? The gig has been hailed as the best ever Glastonbury performance ever. We also, a few years ago, David Bowie put out his gig from Glastonbury from 2000 when he headlined. So is it possible that we could get a live album of Paul at Glastonbury 2022? That would be a brilliant souvenir of a brilliant gig, especially for everyone outside the UK who hasn't even seen that footage or heard it yet, because it's been exclusive to the UK. So that would be a brilliant album to put out. It will probably be Paul's last live album. And that wraps up my thoughts on what we could get from Paul next year. So what about from George Harrison? Now, I did think in 2022 we might get a reissue of the concert for Bangladesh. That would have been 50 years old this year. A nice remix of the album, because it could do with that, and I would especially welcome it, because my box is so battered and bruised. I've had it since 1977 and it's not so much a box anymore, more like 2 pieces of flat orange cardboard. So I would have really welcomed that. It didn't come. There's no sign of it coming. That's a missed opportunity, I think. But next year, 2023, in May, that would be the 50th anniversary of living in the material world, and it would be great if we got a super deluxe box set for this album, a nice remix by Paul Hicks if he's not too busy doing my 2 John Lennon boxes. That would be absolutely great. But Olivia and Danny, no Uber box this time. We don't need an Uber box. You know that there are Beatles fans walking around with 1 kidney because they had to sell the other one to buy the Uber crate for All Things Must Pass. So no Uber box this time. Just a nice super deluxe box set with a remixed album, some demos, some outtakes. That would be absolutely lovely from Camp George. I can't really see anything else coming out from the George Harrison camp next year, but that would be absolutely superb. So get on it. So finally, we've arrived at Ringo and what we might get from Ringo in 2023. Now, Ringo's never had a super deluxe box set edition out in his name, but in November 1973, he put out this album, Ringo, which is by far his best album ever. And if any album deserves a super deluxe box set, it's this one. It's a historic album because it's got all 4 Beatles on it, and it's not just got Ringo's star, it's got lots of other stars on it as well. So if ever there was an album that deserved the box set treatment, it is this one. I'd love to see it. A nice remix of the album, some demos, some outtakes, and a lovely book would do just fine. So let's hope that they go ahead with that and we get something to commemorate the 50th anniversary of Ringo. Now, I don't want to end this video on a bad note, so I'm definitely not going to mention that he might put out all 3 of those EPs as a single album, which will make everyone really cross, including me. He wouldn't do it. I mean, each of those 3 EPs cost the price of an album, so there's no way he's going to put out an album that includes all 3, is he? No, definitely not. Well, if all these things do come out next year, it's going to be a very expensive year for us, and I think people are going to be cherry picking the things that they are going to go for and the things they're going to just let go. Do tell me down in the comments which out of all these things you will be going for if they were to come out, or if I've missed something, tell me about it, or if there's something that you're looking forward to coming out next year and I haven't mentioned it, do tell me about that as well. You know, I read all your comments and I respond to all your comments as well. Now, if you're new to the channel and seeing it for the first time, please consider subscribing, hit the notification bell, give the video a like. We'd love to have you on board. Come and get involved in the channel. That'd be absolutely marvelous. Right, well, that is it from me. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you've enjoyed the video. I know it's been a long one, and if you're still here now, that's brilliant. Thanks very much, and I will see you all very soon. Bye-bye.